We are live. Konnichiwa. Welcome to the Sports Dojo. I am the Sensei, Fred Pleis, ready to dispense Sports Enlightenment to my protege, the Stallion, young Stallion, Taylor Eubanks. So welcome. We are doing this live. We're doing it live.
Right.
Anyway. All right, let's get into it because tonight is a special edition of the Sports Dojo because it is SummerSlam. Oh, mercy me. Are we excited?
Or as they said on Good Morning America, Super Slam.
Super Slam. Way to go. But it is also it is truly a day of celebration because it is NFL training camp.
Right.
The NFL network, along with ESPN, all in, all day at every training camp they're hitting. So the NFL clearly is still king. And we've kind of been talking over the last couple of weeks about, overs and unders. And now it's real. Now this is the real deal. And full disclosure, the Sensei, this guy right here, is a high school football coach. I am the lowest rung of coaches. I am a JV offensive line coach.
Of what team?
Of your team, your town, your Goose Creek Gators in Goose Creek, South Carolina, which I am so proud. Creek is rising, everybody. And as you all know, you go Gator and you go greater. So, we've had full team already. So not only on the professional level, but high school level, college level. I mean, it's football time. It's here. It's rowdy. So a couple of things with the NFL we want to start with, and then we're going to get right into our SummerSlam predictions. We're going to have, this is a special edition because we're even going to extend this into a watch party for SummerSlam, not SuperSlam. And you're going to get our live reactions. I know people are just riveted. They're dying. Yes. I mean, the Twitterverse, the YouTubeverse. I mean, the people are screaming for this.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely screaming for this. My one of fans and your multitude of people.
There's a line at the door.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, all right, I'm going to jump into the NFL because apparently every team is going 17-0 this year, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I had to watch it on the NFL Network, and which simulcasting on ABC and ESPN. But I thought it was super important to watch guys run through pads and then tackle pads. So I don't want to talk about this because again, you're the Stallion, you're the protege, you're the younger of this. So right off the bat, I look and I go, why are there giant erasers on the helmets of these football players?
So Pittsburgh?
Oh, all over.
It's been all over?
All over.
Okay.
So these are the new concussion reducing pads. And they look like, so when I was a kid, we used to have something called a pimple ball,
Okay.
right? So we would play we played stickball in the streets because I grew up on the mean streets of Philadelphia, as you can tell by my edge. Anyway, so these balls were round and they had these pimples coming out of them. So they're pimple balls, right? So I look at these things and I go, wow, it looks like a pimple ball. Or what are the, my kids are younger. So they have these, I guess they're stress relievers. They get,
right.
I can't even think of what they're called. And being an educator, I should know that but they're meant to, you push them in. They're like bubble paper. Fidget thing. It's some kind of fidget popper or whatever. So I'm looking at this thing, and now, mind you, full disclosure, I am a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan. Have been since the day I was born. We don't have a choice in the city of Philadelphia.
Home of WrestleMania.
Home of WrestleMania 40, which we will talk about.
We will.
And how awesome that is going to be. In fact, we might have to do it.
Do the podcast live.
We might have to. I mean, at that point, we'll be so big that we might just have to say, "Hey, Pat,
right.
Pat McAfee, I need you to scooch over a little bit because the Sports Dojo is here."
Right.
And by the way, we could get a ton of people on because I know a bunch of Philly. Anyway, so getting back to the point. So I'm watching, a little bit of tape, and I see Jason Kelsey, because I'm following the Eagles, and Lane Johnson wearing these giant erasers on their heads. Now, Lane Johnson has come out and said he's not a big fan. Jason Kelsey, not a big fan. But I ask you, what say you, young protege?
What do I think?
Yeah, what do you think about these things?
Man, it's the game of football. I think just like with everything in this day and age, they're softening the game. I get why they're doing it, and I know there's some players who do agree with it. They are for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, it's expected. I'm not shocked one bit. I don't know if there's going to be players that are unhappy with it, but
okay. I'm going to tell you what I think.
You're a coach. Yeah,
I'm a coach.
Your perspective.
Yeah. Suck it up, Buttercup. Put the thing on. Because, the one thing, and, a lot of us who are coaches and coaches on many levels, we have to go through all of the trainings, the certifications, right? So, and for me, there is enough evidence out there about the long-term effects of concussions, not only in football, even basketball, soccer, professional wrestling. I mean, you see the results of the I can't get the word right, but it's the disease, the CTE. Okay, so and I always point to Mick Foley and how Mick Foley couldn't, like, they literally would have to write things down for Mick post professional wrestling in order for Mick to remember his daily routine. So I am actually I'm in favor of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm in favor of continuing to look at developing concussion diminishing technology. Right. So yeah, does it look stupid? Sure. But I guess the first time they wore a regular helmet, not a leather helmet, right, that probably looks stupid too.
It's just a situation of, things are going to change, things are going to advance.
Yeah.
You got to be open to change.
Right.
You may not like it now, but you get used to it. And no, I mean, I do agree with you. I think it's definitely the smart thing for everybody's, and the healthy thing for everybody's safe. I just, obviously there's going to be plenty of people who bicker about it.
Right.
But,
and
when you're also getting paid what they're getting paid.
I agree, but it also, like, to me, it speaks to their quality of life afterwards, because you'll hear veterans of the NFL call it not for long.
Right.
Okay. So the average NFL player gets maybe 2 to 3 years. Okay. If you can reduce the amount of impact on the brain and the amount of damage that we cause, because again, it's a collision sport. Any sport that has any sort of collision is going to reduce. I mean, the risk is always there. Okay. I personally have had a few concussions. Okay. And I can tell you that, my famous story was, so when I call myself the Sensei, and for those of you who are following me on Twitter, and if you're not following me on Twitter, you really should be. I don't know why you're not.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that. I want you to just take a minute. Breathe. I want to tell you that I was at a karate tournament one time, and I got whacked in the back of the head. I mean, I literally saw stars. It was that bad. So this particular tournament was in New Jersey. It was in Marlton, New Jersey, and I actually won the fight, of all things, and then lost in the next round. But saw the stars. Like I was when we talk about getting your bell rung, I got my bell rung. I could not remember how I drove home. Now, this was not a route that was foreign to me, right? Mm-hmm. This was me driving across the bridge back to Philly, and then honestly up to go see my girlfriend at the time. And she asked me, she said, "What took you so long?" And I said, I don't know. She said, "Well, what route did you take?" I said, "I don't know." She said, "What do you mean you don't know?" I said, I don't remember. And then she got all mad at me and whatever, and I had to take her to dinner somewhere. But the whole point was, so here's a drive that would have taken about 30 minutes, honestly. I couldn't remember how I got to her house. So it's real. I look at the work that DDP, Diamond Dallas Page does with the DDP yoga, and how he has used the yoga to help heal Jake the Snake Roberts. Scott Hall, God rest his soul, got into the DDP yoga the last couple of years of his life, where he had really kind of restored himself. I look at Mick Foley. Mick Foley will tell you that the yoga has helped him. Even Chris Jericho, he extols the virtue of the DDP yoga because it's healing, but it's because those guys are pretty severe. So that's my whole take on the new thing. And listen, linemen especially, big, strong foot. I mean, Lane Johnson's 6'5". The guy's 300 and some odd pounds. I mean, he is a monster. So when he's complaining about it, okay, Lane, I get it, but bro, trust me. You know what? I would rather have you wearing something like that, even if it's for practice, to minimize the amount of damage that happens to your brain versus not having it. And, who knows the long-term effects, because it only takes one. Right. So, and so that's my take on it. So I don't care that they look like erasers or whatever. Sorry. Yeah. And quite honestly, suck it up, Buttercup. Now, what'll be interesting is to see how quickly that filters down. So if we start to see the college players wearing it, and then ultimately when the high school players start wearing it.
Because it's usually how it works.
Yeah. Again, we've got very little contact right now. It's only been the first couple of days. Right. Kids coming, there were kids coming over the summertime, but now you're starting to get into it. Like first scrimmages next week, just like the first preseason games are starting next week. So it's interesting. But I think it's a topic that we'll come back to. I think over the course of the season, you're going to see more attention paid to concussions going on. So, but I just thought it was very interesting that this was the year they debuted it. So, all right. Speaking of NFL, just want to talk about a couple of topics before we get into the professional wrestling aspect of the dojo. Also, too, UFC tonight. Now, I know you're not a huge UFC guy, but I am. So hopefully we might touch on that just briefly, because there's basically a super fight with the women, which is going to be cool. Anyway, I want to direct the next thing about two major signings, two major deals. One, Kyler Murray. I guess he's not mad at Arizona anymore. I guess he is there. I guess he's adding them as Twitter friends. He's no longer blocking them. 5 years, was it over something like over? I think he's going to make somewhere in the range of $23 million a year. Which, by the way, is really good for Lamar Jackson, lest anybody be confused. And it may be really good for like Jalen Hurts and that. Right. Absolutely. But I ask you, Protege, would you pay that for Kyler Murray? Is Kyler Murray worth that kind of money?
How much did you say it was again?
I'm gonna be extremely professional right now, and I'm going to click on the internet while we're broadcasting, because people love watching that.
Yeah. Our analytics guys out of town.
Yeah, that's true. Here we go. So we are currently looking up Kyler Murray contract. And it is, and now this is an extension, just lest anyone be confused. Okay, 5 years, $230 million contract extension with 29 million guaranteed, and over the life of the contract, $160 million guaranteed. Are you paying that kind of money for Kyler Murray?
Not that much. No. I mean, I think he's up there, but is he up there that far?
Yeah, that's the question.
I'd be interested if there was a chart or something somewhere to see where that compares to everyone else.
I'm sure. I bet if we
sure.
I bet if we fascinate the audience by looking at where's our stats, and somebody call our stats guy.
We get.
Hey,
all right.
Maybe the cat can do it. Anyway, I'm going to tell you there was a list, and again, being sports guys that we are, constantly listening. So the Atlantic, I believe was it the Atlantic? Somebody put out their quarterback rankings.
Okay.
And it ranked all the quarterbacks, whether you're a top tier, mid tier, or low tier quarterback, right? And everybody has one, but this one was pretty extensive to where Aaron Rodgers was the top quarterback. So he was number one. I think. Let me say again. I know this is awesome visual stuff.
All right. So I did find the numbers.
Go ahead.
All right. So do you know who's number one
overall
quarterback in contract money?
I think I do know this. It was somebody that it's Rodgers, isn't it?
No, I'll tell you the top 5 are all under 29 and younger.
Okay, all right. So let me is Wentz on that list?
No. Who's that again? Just kidding.
He's the quarterback for the Commodes. By the way, I want to talk about training camp for the Commodes. Lest anyone be confused.
So the number one contract.
Hold on.
Quarterback.
Let me think. I know it's not Brady.
You're not cheating, are you?
Oh, it's Mahomes.
You cheated.
No, I didn't cheat.
They're watching you.
They can't. How they gonna see my screen?
Why else would you be?
No, but because I'm looking up the NFL quarterback tiers.
450.
That's right. He's making $500 million.
50.
He's making $500 million. And by the way, the deal, they're actually getting him on the cheap. They're getting him on the cheap.
His total guarantee is 141.
Right. So that's less than Kyler Murray.
Guaranteed is 63, and it goes through.
Yeah. So Kyler Murray's fully guaranteed is basically $30 million, right?
And it's 2032 free agency.
Right. But so Patrick Mahomes is getting $500 million, right?
Kyler's number 3 on the list.
Number 3.
Behind Josh Allen is number 2.
Okay. And again, that was that, they absolutely put the huge investment on him.
And Kyler's number 4 is your boy. My boy. Your boy.
Thomas?
Watson.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. Because they sold their soul.
And then number 5
does it say Cleveland? Is it part of his contract? Does it say their soul?
Number 5 and number 6 are actual equal contract. Prescott and Stafford at 6.
Okay, yeah. That's right, because he got that big deal when he went out to
So those top 4 are significantly higher.
Okay. So now according to the Atlantic, okay, Kyler Murray's the 13th ranked quarterback in the tiers. Okay. So if you've been kind of following the Atlantic, this was kind of a big deal because there was all kinds of crazy metrics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the guy who wrote it was doing sort of the round, and his name is Mike Sando. And really, when you heard him break down how this was determined, he really thorough. So he asked almost, I think it was something like 50. There were 50 coaches, general managers, offensive coordinators, and maybe some scouts, right, or some media people. So he came up with this list of, are you tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3? Right. So there were multiple metrics that went into it. So number 1 in tier is Aaron Rodgers. Number 2 is Patrick Mahomes. No surprise there. These are all tier 1. Thomas Brady. Is he Tom Brady? Has he done anything? I'm not sure. All right. Number 4, Josh Allen in the top tier. Justin Herbert.
I disagree with that.
What, Herbert?
Tier 1?
You watched that kid?
Yeah, but tier 1?
Tier 1. I think he's that good.
I think he will.
I'm shocked that he's that good.
I think he is that good, but
right. But the problem with them is their defense. Their defense hasn't been good.
Right, but it's still.
He has kept them in game. He's won them games.
He has, but
I'm
just not tier 1 yet. I know he's got it in.
All right. Well, what about Joe Burrow? Because Joe Burrow seems to be there. Okay. No, not according to the Athletic. Now, you know who is tier? Your Super Bowl MVP, Matthew Stafford.
I believe that.
Interesting that Stafford's 7. Okay. Russ moving to Denver.
That's tier 2.
Tier 2. I'm actually not surprised by that either.
This is out of 4, right? 4 tiers?
I think so, yeah. Your boy.
Tier 2?
Yeah. Who may or may not play. We still don't have a decision about him. and Lamar Jackson rounds out the top 10.
He's tier 2.
Okay, but here, who else is in tier? So you got Dakota.
What tier are they
Prescott.
still saying this is?
This is tier 2.
Okay.
So tier 2 quarterback Dakota.
Dak's tier 2 for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Derek Carr.
Tier 2.
Okay, and then you hit Kyler Murray.
He's tier 2 for me.
I don't know. I don't even call that Matt Ryan.
Tier 3 now.
Well, but I will tell you this: I think Matt Ryan reestablishes himself in Indianapolis.
Yeah,
I really do.
Very well.
Yeah, because I think he's going to have that good of a year. And then when you get into tier 3, you got Kirk Cousins. Yeah, I mean, Kirk. You talk about hot and cold,
right.
But that's Kirk Cousins. Jimmy G, who might play somewhere this season. He's another one. Apparently, the scuttlebutt at the San Francisco big day today was that Jimmy G was there. He wasn't throwing yet because remember he's still coming off that shoulder surgery. So I think what's hard for Garoppolo right now is is he fully recovered from the surgery, and because he hasn't thrown, so nobody knows how good he is right now. Who else is in tier 3? Ryan Tannehill. Yeah.
I mean, good team, but
but they're run
he's
first.
Not sinking you,
How about Mac Jones? Tier 3. Yeah. Second year. I
see him on the rise.
Here's the thing about Mac Jones. Okay. Say what you want about Belichick, but when it comes to personnel, coaching, as far as who he hires and as coaches and they go on. Tend to be a mess. But I think Mac Jones, it's weird to say, but it's almost like Belichick just zeroed in on him, knew he was going to get him, and is getting exactly what he expected.
Right.
Because Mac Jones is not a guy who's going to be changing plays at the line of scrimmage. Now, what'll be interesting is to see how Mac Jones moves forward without Josh McDaniel. That is going to be interesting because that's the telltale. With no Josh McDaniel, because either Mac Jones is going to progress or he's going to be Matt Castle. So Matt Castle had that one great year when Brady was out. Right. McDaniels was there. Then I think Castle went free agent to Tennessee, and he was horrible. He was just terrible. So Mac Jones is interesting to me because if he regresses, I think the Patriots are cooked. Then our boy Baker, okay, tier 3 quarterback, and then Jalen Hurts.
I can see him on the rise before.
Yeah, I mean the thing of it is of course, obviously, as I stated, every team is going 17-0 this year. So there are just flashes of on the Twitter and on social media of Eagles training camp, and again, full disclosure, I'm a diehard Eagles fan. He's making the throws, and you're throwing them to AJ Brown, you're throwing them to Devonta Smith. Devonta is, he's legit. And I know everybody questioned his size. No. I was one of them. No, I questioned the size, but I didn't question the expertise because his route running is ridiculous.
Oh, absolutely.
I really think Jalen Hurts rises because of the talent around him.
I agree.
And if Miles Sanders doesn't drop that many passes, we might be really good. At right after him, the boy, tier 3, Carson Wentz of your Washington commodes, as the great John Kincaid would call them, the Washington commodes. And then I think there is a tier 4, Jared Goff, of course, with the baby hands, with the doll hands. Trevor Lawrence, but again, Trevor Lawrence has a chance.
We've only seen a year.
Yeah, and a year with Urban Meyer. Right. So
maybe one of the most controversial, disastrous.
Not the best thing he did was hand Chris Jericho a laptop so he could hit MJF. Okay, that was the best thing Urban Meyer did all year.
I completely agree.
And the thing is, I really believe in Trevor Lawrence, and I know you're a diehard Clemson guy.
Right.
That kid, the first pass he threw was a touchdown. And it was silk. And you just said, yeah, he is that good. Most people were comparing him to Andrew Luck coming out. And I thought those comparisons were apt. Again, like all last year is basically a red shirt for me. Oh, a red shirt. Now, Doug Peterson, a very special guy, Dougie P, as we all know in Philly, former backup quarterback in the league behind Brett Favre for all those years, was a starting quarterback in Miami, was a starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles the year that Donovan McNabb was drafted. So, Dougie, I really do think Doug Peterson will be a great influence on Trevor Lawrence. And I think it will be a better experience than he had with Carson Wentz. Even though, the first 2 years, he had Carson. Carson was the potential MVP when he got hurt the Super Bowl year. And then he took Nick Foles and made him a Super Bowl champ. Okay. And Doug Peterson gave the greatest sports gift you could ever give to the city of Philadelphia, which was a world championship. I really do think that Trevor Lawrence is in much better hands. And I think next year I actually think he'll be a tier 2 quarterback next year. I really do. Famous Jameis, he is what he is. And then tier 4.
Tier 4.
Yeah. Justin Fields. Yeah. I don't know what they're doing. I just don't see them
getting anywhere.
Yeah. The problem is, he's a talented kid, but they have no idea. What's it? Matt Nagy? Matt Nagy was a disaster.
As an organization, they're just lost.
Yeah, they're lost, and it's sad because Chicago has a history, but Matt Nagy was a disaster, and I was really surprised by that. I thought Matt Nagy was going to be a really good head coach. He was a disaster. He was terrible, and it was just bad decision after bad decision. Tua, again, if you're listening to who's the boy from Tyreek Hill, Tua's better than everybody. Greatest quarterback he's ever played with. Okay. Okay.
Just because you can throw in practice,
yeah.
You can play a game.
And Davis Mills, come on, stop. Zach Wilson, though. That I'm gonna tell you, this surprises me.
The dog.
Yeah, he's maybe he is a better lover than he is a quarterback, but he's got nothing to work with right now.
He's tier 5.
He might be. Trey Lance, again.
Tier 4, but
yeah. No, Daniel Jones. Now there's tier 5 right
No, I'm telling you, that's a shame.
And Marcus Mariota.
Daniel Jones.
Do the deal. Oh, no, there. Here's your first tier 6.
Sam
Darnold
is a decent quarterback.
Oh, and Mitchell Trubisky. Oh, Mitchell. Yeah, that's right. Drew Lock. Oh, there is a tier 5. Gino's still playing. Gino's the bottom of the him and Drew Lock are the two worst.
Made the tier.
Yeah, well, he might be starting. Anyway, but what's really, really interesting to me is that Kyler Murray is going to make a ton of money. That's a whole lot of bread.
It is.
And I don't think he's that much better than how many quarterbacks? Is he really better? Like 13?
You think he's like a Baker? Or
yeah, I do think he's like here's the thing now. Yeah, here's the other thing. But he's got a much better arm.
But the overall, just as a game
I think what sells him is his arm. But obviously he's having a hard time staying healthy. Now I don't know if that's just circumstance or whatever. Right. But the reality is that he's, down the stretch in the last 2 years, he's faded. And so is Arizona. Now, again, they've got a lot of talent there. Yeah, and even like bringing in Zach Ertz, although Zach's, toward on the tail end, he's still got great hands. He can't block to save his life, but his Julie's a better blocker than he is.
I have great respect for Zach Ertz. He was my fantasy title the first year.
Well, listen, Zach won us a Super Bowl. Let me tell you something. That touchdown, which, by the way, the fact that they even had to review that was a joke in Super Bowl 52, which I will continue to extol as the greatest Super Bowl ever in the history of the world. That was clearly a touchdown. And by the way, it just goes to show you that Chris Collinsworth is a jerk. And why we hate Chris Collinsworth. But anyway, but Zach Ertz has still got something left in the tank. And they've got some, they got some young talent there. Defensively, I mean, they're still, Arizona's still a strong defense. The problem is you're out there in the West, and you've got San Francisco, you got the Rams, the defending Super Bowl champs, Arizona, and Seattle. So, I don't know. I think, I don't know. I don't know if you give Kyler Murray that kind of money. I mean, obviously he's better than me, so you wouldn't give me that kind of money.
Right, you wouldn't give me that money.
Although I do, in practice, I do have to throw the ball every once in a while as the offensive line coach.
Just go ahead.
I was going to say, I could be a solid backup quarterback on a over 40 men's flag football team.
Will?
No, dude, that's my spot. So you're not over 40. You're not even over 30.
No, any guess, just for fun.
Yeah,
just for fun.
I'm
the
listening.
Lowest quarterback contract in the NFL.
The lowest?
How much do you think they get paid? Any ideas?
League minimum. It's got to be league minimum. I mean, are you talking starting quarterback or are you talking just quarterback in general? So it's probably Ben DiNucci or maybe Nate Sudfeld. But they're probably making, I bet they're making $750,000.
Not quite. Close. Not quite. 705,000.
Okay.
3 of them.
Yeah, they're probably the third string quarterbacks. Like the Nate Sudfelds, the Ben DiNucci's.
That's the Danny Etling.
Okay.
Pleis, Perez, Jake Brown.
Yeah.
Not too far up the list is the once thought of that was going to be a great quarterback, Josh Rosen.
Yeah, but he's still. I mean,
yeah,
but Josh Rosen still got signed. They brought him. It didn't Cleveland.
He's still making more than we are.
Yeah, a lot more. Well, of course, when this takes off.
Oh,
yeah. So, all right. Well, speaking of quarterbacks and crazy money, I want to flip the switch a little bit and take it to the Pacific Northwest. Somebody to be thrown to is DK Metcalf. And DK Metcalf, again, signed a ridiculous extension for somebody who's going to throw him the ball. Now, I would actually have a little more faith in Geno just as a starter, just because you've been around. Right. Here's the thing. And I told you this, and I'm sure people in the social media verse has seen. So I'm looking at somebody tweeting out the quote unquote interaction between the DK Metcalf and Drew Lock. And it was a clip from the movie The Longest Yard where Sandler says to Nicholas Castellano or Nick he's oh gosh, I can't even think. But he's been, he's in a famous family and a funny actor, a comedian actor, but he plays the goofy guy and so Sandler says, okay, throw me the ball, and the ball plays. And he goes, yeah, you're not playing quarterback. And now, here's the thing about Drew Lock. Okay, he's not good. No, he's not awful, but he's not good. And he's got the pocket presence of a guy about a guy who's running with the Bulls. So, I mean, but he's got a huge arm.
Right.
He really does. And that was the one thing that I think Elway was very hopeful for, was because he had a big arm and they could teach him. But they had no problem. See ya. We'll take Russ off your hands. I wonder if DK Metcalf.
He's got to be thinking.
He's got to be thinking his bank account and post playing days, because I don't know why you would sign an extension like that. You can't honestly believe it.
Easily. I mean, there've been plenty of teams.
Yeah. Well, no, this isn't about that. It's why do you sign that extension? Why do you stay?
Right.
And you stay because, I mean, that's a lot of dough. Okay. And they're willing to pay it, which is fine, but they're going to be in the basement. I would be shocked if Seattle wins more than 6 games. I think the over-under on them is 6.
Right.
I don't see them winning more than 6. I'd take that as a push. I don't even think I'd put money on that. No monopoly money on over 6. So go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so, these are just some of the stories. I'm sure as the week comes next week, we'll have more to talk about with the NFL. But I just, a lot of, this is it. This is a time of total optimism.
DK's now the number 10 wide receiver contracts in the NFL.
Yeah. Who's above him? Who else? Who's number one?
Devontae.
140
million.
Devontae Smith?
Devontae Adams.
Oh, Devontae Adams. Oh, that's right, because he went to the Raiders.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what? I think he's worth it.
Oh, absolutely.
He's absolutely worth every penny.
You got Tyreek, 120.
Yeah, and that was
he's worth it. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, he is. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if you can save Miami.
No, but he's.
Yeah, I mean, he's the ultimate weapon.
Amari Cooper, number 3. Well,
but he's moved on, right? He's in Cleveland.
And AJ Brown is also tied for 3.
Yeah, well, and again, that's part of the reason why all those moving parts went. But the Eagles were happy to spend that money.
Mike Thomas. I don't know if he's.
Michael Thomas? No.
Still,
well, he's their only option in New Orleans.
Right. Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
Mike Evans.
Yep.
And then Keenan Allen and Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. Well, and again, Cooper Kupp, absolutely. I mean, he showed his value.
Oh,
you talk about a guy who's just.
And I mean, I don't know when the last time he had an extension or whatever. Or
no, I think this was his first. This was his first big extension.
Okay.
Cooper.
Well, I think it'll only get bigger next time.
Yeah, but I mean, he's. I'll tell you what, he is a weapon.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think it's funny because when he first came out, people didn't really know who he was.
Right.
But so many quarterbacks loved what he brought.
Right. I remember seeing him in the combine.
Yeah. And you just thought because didn't he go to he's like from Nevada or something. Like it was a smaller school.
It wasn't Nevada.
No, he wasn't in Boise. Anyway, wherever he came from was a smaller school, but I mean everybody just loved that kid. And now you see why. I mean, he's that good. He's like an Adam Thielen.
Eastern Washington.
Okay, so again, they I mean, a place where they threw the ball all the time.
Right.
But again, you're not facing major competition. Although I do have to give Eastern Washington credit. They do try. I mean, they want to play the big boys. Well, they want to come out in that awful red field, too.
It's pretty interesting. You talk about a guy who a year, 2 years ago was considered number 1, 2 wide receiver in the league. D-Hop. He's number 22 on the list.
Wow.
And we'll see. Is it all downhill for him from here on out? I sure hope not.
I hope not too. I mean, he's too talented. He's just a beast. But again, if Murray's happy and Murray can stay healthy, then Hop's good. He's a monster. Right. He's a monster. So anyway,
your boy Hunter Renfrow making $32,000.
Well, listen. Let me tell you something. Hunter's good.
Oh yeah.
And
system and knows how to use them.
Yeah, and the other thing too is Derek Carr can rely on him.
Right.
And he's a really good route runner.
He's
a really good route
runner.
He's
reliable.
Absolutely. And he's durable. He will go across. I mean, he's
for somebody his size.
Yeah. But he's your Wes Welker, your Danny Amendola.
Right. In
a weird way, he's kind of like Tyreek Hill,
right.
Or Cooper Kupp. So he's cut from that mold. But because again, you're a diehard Clemson guy, and I watched a lot of Clemson football.
Walk on from Sox City High School.
Yeah, but you saw him in college,
right.
And you knew he was Mr. Reliable.
Every time you threw him the ball, he was going to catch it.
Yeah. And yeah. So anyway,
so is that it for the?
Yeah, I think right now especially because it's now we're going on 7:00, so we're into the pre-show of the main reason why you and I get together in the first place, right. And it is SummerSlam.
Main reason we exist.
I want to real quick. I hate to go back to this, but we forgot to mention Julio Jones.
Right.
Adding to Tampa Bay's receiving core.
As if they
needed anything to get. Yeah.
Where's the money?
It's because Antonio Brown lost his flipping mind. Right. So any money that would have gone to Antonio Brown is not going to go. And by the way, if you had the choice of those two, who you taking? Julio. Stop it. Julio's. I'm sorry. I mean, I know Antonio Brown is a quote unquote talent, but I would take Julio Jones 10 times out of 10.
Right, it's poison.
Yeah. And by the way, in a weird way, Tom Brady, will remind you why Julio is as good as he's always been.
Right.
There's one thing about Julio outside of the injuries, because he got banged up in Atlanta, but he can play. He can flat out play.
When you're on a team that can play,
listen, they got to a Super Bowl.
It helps those things.
Yeah, but they got to a Super Bowl.
They did.
And Julio was a monster. And what's interesting? It's so crazy.
So is Tom, but
right. I think he literally is. I think he's a psychopathic monster, but that's neither here nor there. But again, Atlanta has nothing right now. I mean, outside of Kyle Pitts, there's
poor Kyle Pitts.
Oh my God, he's gonna get 99% of the offense. Like, they might as well just take Mariota and go, all right, you pretend to be a running back.
Give him 99%.
It's gonna be direct snap. I reckon it's gonna be a direct snap to Kyle Pitts because they got nothing. Oh my! I mean, they suspended Calvin Ridley for the whole season. I mean, give me a break. And this is what's so crazy. And we didn't even talk about this. Your boy, they still haven't made a decision on your boy. And
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean,
well, and I think here's what's.
Well, I guess it's a good thing, because if they don't, he's going to play. They're getting him ready. He's practicing.
But the thing of it is, all right. First and foremost, there was something came out on the New York Times about women who were not in the lawsuits, and how there's a lot of them too. And this, I guess one of them sort of recounted her experience, and it's bad. I mean, but at some point you got to adjudicate this. And listen, I really think he's going to get 8 games. That's what I think. I think they're going to come down on him, but they're not going to come down too hard on him, because he did sit out a whole year. And I think they're going to look at the whole situation, and that the Texans litigated and settled with everybody. So the Texans are clean and clear. You can't go after them. But, I think he's going to get 8 games. And whether or not, Cleveland can keep their head above water for 8 games is fine. And then what is he going to look like when he comes back? But I guess we'll see a little bit of training camp, what he's got. This is what bothers me. Okay. How does Ridley get a year and your boy might only get 8 games? And I get the gambling part of it. Okay. And it goes back to Pete Rose and betting on baseball, but whatever. But come on. But this is the NFL. I mean, talk to me. I'm doing a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just as puzzled as you are about it. I mean, I look at, although I think Deshaun should be cleared. That's my personal opinion. I think if you don't think that, and you are going to punish him for it, I mean, you look at the severity of what you're punishing him for, what you're accusing him of, versus what Ridley did.
Yeah,
I mean,
but you're talking a $1,500.
I think 12. I think the whole season, right?
Yeah, he's out the whole season.
I think that's
for $1,500. $1,500. I mean, give me a break.
That's a joke.
Yeah, well, but oh God, you can't be gambling.
I don't even think it should be half the season.
Yeah, I think DraftKings had it over and under for Calvin Ridley on how many games he was going to get.
I don't think it should even be half the season.
I don't think so either. I mean, it's $1,500.
4 games.
But decisions made. We're gonna lay the law down. We're not gonna have this.
No, we've been thinking twice about it.
Yeah. By the way, how much promoting are they doing of players' fantasy football teams? Like, just give me a break. But this is what, again, it is the hypocrisy of the world. It really is. And so Ridley will sit out and he'll heal and he'll come back. I think even stronger. There was a lot of people who thought the Eagles should trade for him, even though he's suspended. Get his rights. Get Calvin Ridley.
Right.
Because he's sitting there, and he's another one. He and Devontae were, buds at Alabama. Jalen. I mean, they all know each other. And A.J. Brown, it's he. I mean, we're thinking, can you imagine a core that had Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and Calvin Ridley with Dallas Goedert and, whoever else is coming out of the backfield. But, oh, my God, Jalen Hurts would have no choice but to be better.
Right.
So, Anyway, I got to do one last. I know we're supposed to be talking WWE right now. I get one last dig at the commodes. So, did you see? I don't know if you saw any of the turnout for the Washington Commanders. Who, by the way, somebody pointed out the Washington Commanders is a horrible name. It sounds like an arena football team. And they had literally tens of people.
I can't remember when they put out the list of the last final names. Which one? I wish I remember which one I was reading.
Oh my God, they had so many. They could have been the Red Tails to honor the Tuskegee Airmen. They could have been the Warriors. I mean, there was Red Pandas.
I don't know what you feel. I had no problem with the Washington football team.
Yeah, I think a lot of people. I
think it's kind of that
generic. I mean, it's generically that franchise.
There's generic things, generic traditions in football that are special.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would say it sounded too soccer-like.
I don't know. I really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the Washington football team. Okay, it was not to me. It didn't.
It's a football club.
I mean, and again, as a diehard Eagles fan, any misery that comes to that team in Washington and that pitiful owner, because Daniel Snyder is the lowest. I mean, he is a dirtbag. Like we hate the Dallas Cowboys, right? It's in our very nature.
You hate them most in that division.
Oh, it's the Cowboys. It's always been the Cowboys. But I have 10 times the respect for Jerry Jones. And even though I despise the Cowboys, and it's all sports hate, just lest anyone be confused on out there in the universe. It's all sports hate, right? I was so happy to see Dakota came back. I really did. I love to laugh at Ezekiel in his belly shirts. He looks like, a 17-year-old girl. But I despise the Cowboys, yet the Redskins, the football team, the Commodes, whatever they are, that franchise is a joke. And, having once been on the Wentz wagon where, we wanted to have a covered wagon coming from North Dakota and all this stuff, and having seen and been in Bismarck, North Dakota, when Carson got drafted, and seeing 8 aisles of Philadelphia Eagles stuff in Bismarck, North Dakota, I think he'll have an average season. I think it'll be whatever it is, but I wish him no success. but that team, it's funny because they some of the sports talk places, they were talking to people who are Redskins fans, and it's that, I keep calling them Redskins, the Commodes. They're beaten down. I mean, that is a beaten down fan base. And literally tens of people came out to see him. Tens. Like they were doing the flashes around the league.
Right.
And you had like Eagles. I mean, there were so many people, the Eagles, so many people in San Francisco. LA actually found fans because they won. They didn't have to hire LA Ram fans. Even Chicago. I mean, every town came out. Pittsburgh, Buffalo. I mean, the people in Buffalo are going nuts. I mean, they really think Kansas City, tens of people in Washington. So I wish that team nothing but misery. I hope they go 0-17. I hope every player gets turf toe. Like I despise them. Yeah. And I hope Daniel Snyder is forced to sell that team just for the fan base. And like I said, I have no love for anybody in Washington, but just for the fans alone, I hope he sells it. He never will, because it's $1 billion organization. But all right, now we're going to talk wrestling. Go ahead.
Let's do it.
All right. I want to talk about AEW first, and I know it's SummerSlam night and all this. I just want to talk real quick about some of the matches on AEW, and then we're going to just be nothing but WWE and SummerSlam. Okay, so starting off with Dynamite. And now where's our research? Where's our research department? Some of the things that are starting to develop, like the 6-person tag team championship, which
the trios.
Yeah, the trios championship, which they've been talking about. They do it in New Japan. They do it in a lot of organizations. I will ask you this: does that excite you?
I feel like there'll be good matches. but I feel like at that point it's just another title. There's no meaning to it behind it for me. And it's not just an AEW thing; it could be anywhere. When you start doing trios, like it's just I don't know if it leads to good storylines, and it's not just I don't know. I like tag team because you're a team, not just taking two guys and then you throw one more guy into the picture, or you take three people that have nothing to do with each other, throw them together. Come on.
Yeah, but I think so traditionally, and again, this goes back to the 80s. Okay, so there were 6-man tag team championships. So I go back to the days of the original NWA, where the Horsemen.
Right.
So it was Ole Anderson, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard were the world 6-man tag team champions. The Freebirds were the world 6-man tag team champions.
Right.
The Russians, quote unquote. So it was Ivan Koloff, Nikita Koloff, and Crusher Khrushchev. So,
but they were true.
They were factions. So here's what a 6-man tag team championship does. It gives you storylines for the factions.
Right.
So and I know that are already building something about the elite.
Right. I'm great with that.
Right. And I'm going to tell you that I truly believe this, that Adam Page
in Dark Order.
No.
Oh.
And the Bucks.
Oh, right. When I saw that moment, I saw you.
And you know what it's going to come down to? Them versus Adam Cole and the elite, whatever they're calling themselves.
The
Undisputed elite. So can you imagine? And again, I'm just throwing it out because don't forget, you're going to have the Lucha guys coming.
Right.
And I really think Andrade's crew, because I think they're going to bring Dragon Lee in, who's really, he was in ROH. Right. He's really good.
Right.
And I want to talk about that match between him, Moxley, and Rush, because I thought that was an absolute fantastic match.
And just so we know, since we didn't game,
go ahead.
We have to talk about the turn on Absolute Restart.
By the way, brilliant. Right. All right, I just want to talk about the 6-man belts. I'm actually I love it because to me it goes back to tradition. It goes back to the tradition of the Freebirds. It goes back to when it was Dusty Rhodes and Magnum TA, and Dusty Rhodes had a partner. It was the Bull, Manny Fernandez. He played football in Miami and all that. So it was Magnum and the Bull. You had the Horseman. I actually think it's good. And again, they do it in New Japan. There is a 6-man title. Right. I think they do it down in AAA in the Mexican, the Luchadors. So I'm excited.
I think if it's done right, I love it.
Yeah, and I think it will be. I mean, that's
right with AEW.
With AEW, the wrestling part of it is really good. And so go ahead.
They're so well rounded too. It's not like where WWE says we're going to do only what we do. Mm-hmm. They're not afraid to do a little bit of what everybody else does.
And again, I think part of it's Tony's philosophy. Tony Khan, the head of AEW. Tony Khan says, look, when everybody's healthy, wrestling's healthy. It's just great. What I love about the possibility is, again, you're going to have factions versus factions, and you're going to have legit faction matches. And they already have. And the other thing, too, is you don't forget the best friends. Because you got Orange Cassidy and the best friends. I really... so... not Jonathan Gresham, Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and that monster, the 7'4" guy. Okay, going up against the best friends. I loved that match. I had forgotten because Sanjay Dutt's a guy who was basically an Impact guy,
right? For sure.
Okay, so him and Orange Cassidy going together. That's why I love professional wrestling. I mean, when he broke the pencil, stop it. That's professional wrestling in the most beautiful and magnificent way. So we'll talk about that. All right. I want to double back. I want to talk a little bit about the Combat Club versus everybody. I thought Moxley and Rush was incredible.
It was.
Rush really showed you why. I mean, 2-time Ring of Honor champion.
He's good.
He's really good.
He's that good.
So you put, like I said, you put Rush. And he had the match with Dragon Lee,
right? Which
was apparently a barn burner from the Death Before Dishonor. You get, you can just throw Andrade in there, El Idolo, and I mean they're formidable. They're formidable. But Roosh really, I mean, and you could tell that those guys were having a great time. And I go back to a couple weeks ago, I was listening to Renee Paquette, who is John Moxley's wife, and she talked about that John is living his best life. And when John can go in that ring as the interim whatever champion he is, okay, he's doing the matches he wants to do.
Right.
So to go up against Roosh, and they both, listen, even though John won, they both won because everybody was like, dang, Roosh can hang.
Right.
And he is that good. So I don't know. What were your thoughts?
No, I mean, I thought it was great too, and I thought I've known who Roosh was since he's come to AEW. This first couple times I've gotten to see him.
Yeah.
And after that match, I was like, kind of like you said, I was like, oh, he's legit. He can hang. He can hang. I thought it was a fantastic match. It was real solid.
No, and we're gonna talk next about Ricky Starks, who I love, absolutely love Ricky Starks. Love Powerhouse Hobbs. So first, it's Ricky versus Danhausen, who I'm sorry, I just love Danhausen. He's hysterical,
right? And
he is what he is, and he's really good at what he does, right? Very good, very evil. It's just so funny, but it was exactly what you needed it to be. He and Ricky worked really well together. Then comes Hook, and Hook takes his father's title.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you're establishing Hook as a star.
Right.
And Ricky put him over beautifully. Great. Knuckle boom. Brotherhood. I don't know if you've seen any of the backstage stuff where they interviewed Taz with Hook. And Taz is like, I'm not really good at the emotional stuff, but the well of pride that legitimately came from Taz,
right?
Having his son hold the title that was up on their mantle in their home for all those years. I thought it was awesome. And I like Hook. I don't know where you're going to go with him.
But he's so young.
He's so young. You forget that he's so young.
Yeah.
Like he's like now even Dominic Mysterio is older than he is.
Right. And he's
and Dom's, he's a mid guy.
He's at least been on television with his dad before.
But again, no, because Taz can't wrestle.
Right.
So Hook, but it was different.
I know,
but the idea was that Taz. I mean, he was part of Team Taz, right. So you did see that. You saw. I mean, everybody knows who Hook is.
How raw Hook was being. Into
but
AEW.
You saw it though. You saw the talent. You saw the athleticism.
Right.
Okay, Ricky puts him over. He's got the FT, which I think they're going to do a lot with. I really do see.
I think you have to if you're going to give it to Hook.
Yeah, and I think you can. And that's the other thing too is you can do a lot, even more FTW matches.
Is that supposed to be like hardcore kind of?
Well, all right. So Taz said, and I didn't even realize this, that the title came from when Taz was in ECW, and whoever the champ was wouldn't give him a title shot.
Right.
So what he created was the FTW, the world, Bleep the World title, right? Non-sanctioned. He's always said it's been a rogue title, right? So it was, obviously it was away because Taz wasn't doing anything.
Right.
And then he puts it on Brian Cage to try to elevate Brian Cage. But Ricky actually made it like something to care about. Like, and again,
Brian Cage?
He's with. I think you're going to see him in Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. So when they do the big relaunch of Ring of Honor, somehow he's going to be part of a faction in Ring of Honor. I don't know what it is about Brian Cage. I mean, there's a guy. He looks good.
He's talented.
He's really talented, but he's just like he's not over. And he can't really talk. I mean, he's not a great talker.
Right.
He's not great on the mic.
I think it's because when I watch him, he doesn't look like he's enjoing it.
It looks like,
serious.
And I think it's valid. I think the crowd picks up on that too.
Right.
Because, he just looks like, I'm here.
It's just like a bodybuilder, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and there was a lot of those guys in the 90s, you just didn't, people just didn't buy into them.
Right.
Like Ahmed Johnson was one who was supposed to be this
Right.
great big, and honestly, I get the same feeling about Bobby Lashley. Now, I've never been a big Lashley guy.
Yeah.
Now I get that he's had his, when he's the almighty Bobby and he's the destroyer. Okay, I buy him more of that, right? But when he tries to be a baby face, it's just like, and Brian Cage is the same way. It's just like you didn't care about him. But Ricky, so then Ricky goes out and gives that incredibly passionate speech.
Right.
You felt every bit of it.
It was just as far as the realness of it, but it was the next closest thing. Not saying it's nearly what it was, but next closest thing to realism as the MJF. I mean, it was the next closest.
Yeah, I mean, it was again. It's what Jericho always says. It's the best version of yourself, right?
Right.
So Ricky goes out there, and at the perfect moment, Hobbs takes him out.
Right.
So
the perfect moment.
Right. So you just like you did with MJF and Wardlow, you've just elevated both Ricky and Hobbs. And again, Hobbs has been waiting. He's been in the thing, and Hobbs has been doing some incredible stuff.
Yeah, he's patient.
And in that three-way tag team, Hobbs hit. Who did he hit? I don't know if it was somebody from FTR or it must have been somebody from FTR.
You talking about when the championship was on?
Yeah, did he hit Keith Lee with a Hobbs? Hobbs picked him up and with a spine buster.
Right, yeah.
So if that's true, like that, I think it was Keith Lee. I think he spine busted Keith Lee.
He did.
And I was like, holy mother of pearl, because I love Keith Lee.
Oh, right.
And I love Swerve, and I think he and Swerve are
Alexa, cancel.
Yeah, it's fine. There's our stats department.
That's who we should be asking. Hey, she can get him quicker than.
That's right. But Hobbs is that good. So yeah, that's the paparazzi. That's not lightning. That's paparazzi.
I think they're in the room.
Anyway, I'm kidding. We know it's thunder.
Yeah. Go home.
Yeah, it's all good. So anyway, I want to talk. So I just thought that was really well done. Taz was very confused, so I guess Team Taz will probably. I bet he's just going to focus on Hook, which is what he should, because really.
And I'll say, Taz has always been like that. Just the guy we've always said. Just so miserable all the time. Yeah, but
that's his character.
I know it is, but I think now you're going to see a little more. I think he's going to be a little more enjoyable to be.
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
I think he is enjoying.
Yeah, but Taz's strength has always been on commentary.
Right.
And when he's been on commentary, when he's singing Ruby's song, I mean, come on, that's the real Taz.
Always loved him on commentary.
And they tried to see. The problem is he was an ECW guy. So there's Taz, who's like 5'8". He looks like a fire plug, and to try to sell him as a main event guy just never was there, right? So he was always angry and this and that. And Paul, I mean, it goes back to how great Paul Heyman has always been, making stars out of people that should in no way, shape, or form be stars. Like the Sandman. I mean, the Sandman was like a bartender who had no problem hitting himself in the head with a beer can. Okay. That guy was a star in ECW. Who else? Turning the Dudleys. And the Dudleys were just this mishmash. Yeah, Tommy Dreamer. And again, Tommy Dreamer's fine. I mean, as a guy, but he turned Tommy Dreamer into and Raven. That was legit stuff. And and that's kind of where Taz falls. I think Hook is so much better than his dad, just from an athletic standpoint, from a presentation standpoint. So that's that. Anything? So Moxley challenges Le Champion, but he doesn't want Le Champion. He wants the Lionheart.
I knew it was coming.
Oh yes, it was. And by the way, they're going to have a great match.
Oh, absolutely.
But
I love seeing those two go at it.
Yeah. And again, it was Moxley that took the title from Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho, the first AEW champion, as well he should have been. But I like this wrinkle with Wheeler Yuta. Mm-hmm. So, they're going to fight. I guess I don't know what Chris is going to do with the broken nose. maybe he'll come out with the Shield or something. I don't know,
Right.
but yeah, and I think he's going to fight Yuta. Something's going to happen. There's going to be some kind of chicanery, right? But Yuta is another one. I mean, you talk about the elevation of young stars.
He's pretty young, right?
He's very young.
He's very young, right?
As well as his recent opponent at Death Before Dishonor, Daniel Garcia, who beat the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. And I don't know what they're going to do with the storyline about him coming back too early, but I just thought, I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. I mean, I really expect Daniel Garcia to take the loss.
Right.
He didn't, which I think is the right choice. I think it's the right move. So, I don't know. What say you about here's my statement on this, and I want you to respond to this. AEW is showing you the blueprint of what a professional wrestling organization should do.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, it's fascinating to see how they're. I mean, it all comes down to what you said earlier, and what they've been saying is that when wrestling is healthy, or when everyone is healthy, wrestling is healthy, and I mean, it just seems like they're just doing everything how we've hoped it should be, how we thought it should be, and it's just it is elevating everything around it. I think it's going to, even if they're still not working together, I think it's going to be interesting to see how WWE and AEW interact in a way. I talked about NXT being the same night as the All Out pay-per-view.
Yep.
We're seeing that a little bit again.
Well, I wonder if we go back to the quote-unquote Wednesday night wars.
Right.
I mean, quote-unquote. I mean, the reality was that AEW, NXT can't compete with AEW.
Not with how it is now.
Yeah. Obviously, Raw and SmackDown are clearly different. But NXT, if Triple H is allowed to develop NXT the way it was going,
Black and gold brand.
Or now it's going to be what, the multicolored brand?
They're talking about, well,
going back to the
black and gold.
But I think they have a real shot at really developing the talent.
And they've talked about even a lot, not just if they go really back to the black and gold brand, they've been talking about allowing some of those veteran or the independent guys to come back.
Yeah, I mean,
or to sign new ones is what I
right.
mean.
But they started to do that when like Dolph went down and Mandy went down. Right. I know Mandy wants to get out of NXT. When the vicious Viking Raiders went down for like 2 weeks, and now Apollo's down there trying to rebrand himself. So I'm encouraged for NXT. Like I said, of all of them, I just can't. There's just certain. I just don't get into NXT, and I don't know what it is. Like I like Breaker, I love Cameron Reigns.
Nobody does right now.
Right, and I think they need that new direction. They need that new energy.
And I think you're going to see that pretty quickly too. I really do. I mean,
well,
that's Triple H's baby.
Yeah,
I mean,
and you got and I here's what I would say. So there was a little scuttlebutt between Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash, and Kevin Nash was like, "No, it's about developing the monsters and this that, and you got to build a name." And Shawn was like, "No, it's about the performance." Because, and again, you talk about their perspectives, right? So Diesel, Big Daddy Cool, Kevin Nash versus the showstopper, who was the Midnight Rocker to the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, to Shawn friggin' Michaels, right? So yes, I understand, but I think what's healthier for wrestling as a business is to build through performance, not character.
Because I think that's what the fans. Yeah. You look at the fans. I think it's changed, and that's what the fans are.
And listen.
That's what I, as a fan, want.
Sure,
we will always have storylines. I always want good storylines. But
go ahead.
Included with that, I want to see entertaining matches. I want to see the story through the match.
Yeah, and that's it goes back to the foundation of professional wrestling. Like if you go back to the kayfabe days, where, they would drive and, get to a certain point, drive in separate cars, all that stuff. You couldn't be seen together, all the other stuff, right? Where, people's is fake, wrestling's real, right? The fan, and even my generation, but your generation of fan is so much more savvy, right? And the fact of the matter is that we all get it. We don't care. Like I said, I've been watching professional wrestling since I was 13 years old. So that is almost 40 years of wrestling, watching for that long. I don't care. I love it when two buddies are going at it, because you look back at the history, like, there were monster matches, like so much heat between Ric Flair and Roddy Piper, right? And you would have thought those guys wanted to kill each other, and they were the best of friends. I mean, just drinking buddies and getting into trouble and getting arrested in Puerto Rico and all this craziness, right? All because Piper was nuts and Flair was Flair, right? Or all the anger between Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair, right? Or Hulk Hogan and Hogan and Piper hated each other. Piper really hated him. But like, those stories of like Rick Rude and Jake Snake Rock, all that crap, right? Now, hey, like, perfect example this week was Drew versus Sheamus. Okay. Everybody knows their history. They talked about their history together, blah, 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 blah. Okay. That was a hell of a match.
It
was a hell of a match. And I will tell you that what I loved the most was Drew's reaction.
Yes.
Because it was legit.
Oh, it was.
And that his buddy made sure that he was there, that he's going to Cardiff, right? But that's the essence of professional wrestling. The essence of professional wrestling is the performance. And they put on a hell of a match, even though it was gimmicked.
And I think that's why you just in this week, you've already seen the slightest bit of change. I mean, that even not necessarily even in the storyline and how good it was, but the match itself is what we saw in the NXT that we liked in Triple H.
Yeah.
I mean,
there were some. I think there's going to be some wrestlers that are just going to get lost in NXT because they just don't. They're not going to fit. There's no storyline for them. For me, like I don't know what you do with Diamond Line, right? I mean, obviously I think the best thing is for Roderick to leave.
Good idea, because he was best with them.
Yeah, and he was, he was an ROH guy. He was.
I like
a
him.
New Japan guy.
I like him and I think Roddy's got a little bit on the mic.
He does.
If the Alpha Academy ever fell apart, I would not mind seeing Gable and Roddy.
Yeah.
Does Roddy have does he have a amateur wrestling background?
I think they all do. I think he's a Canadian though, so he might have. I forget where Roderick's from. But he may be a Canadian guy. So, but again, I think the way the storyline's being crafted, obviously you're trying to elevate the young kids on Diamond, right? But Roddy, it's weird to think that Rod is trying to take control when he really is the coach, and what it should be is him doing more coaching, doing less wrestling.
What's it doing for him?
Well, but what it's doing for him is, again, it's not like he's a young guy, right?
Right.
He's older.
He is.
The body starts to break down, and Roddy can still go, right? So it's not like you can't insert him into. But I don't like. Here's what I don't like: the storyline of the Creed brothers, who they're still green. I mean, really green. They're okay on the mic, but like Roddy should be like, in a weird way, like Escobar is. Like Escobar he's Legato, right? He runs it. Those guys, whatever.
Roddy should be the Sensei.
Roddy should be that guy. And it shouldn't be this tension between them. It should just be like, Roddy's coaching Mark or whatever. Like the other, I don't even know who the other dude in
I don't know
his name either. But like he could be the fall guy. Like that's how you elevate him is, he keeps taking the losses and they keep doing. Just in a weird way, like not Walter, Gunter is doing with, and listen, that's perfect.
It is.
I'm sorry, but it's perfect.
It's believable.
It is. And good for Ludwig Kaiser
right.
Or
Kaiser Ludwig.
Yeah, or who he's
Kaiser Leatherwick, I think.
No, it was Fabian Eichner and
Martel.
No, he's
Marcel Batel.
Yeah, Marcel but anyway, whoever they were in Imperium, like again, he's that guy, and they're just working it perfectly. Yeah. I actually think Shinsuke and I'm looking forward to a Gunter Shinsuke match eventually because Shinsuke's a veteran.
Different styles.
Yeah,
it'll be good.
And I would love to see Gunter, Walter, whoever he is, really embrace that character of the ring general.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could bring, like, eventually you could bring the Fabian Eichner or Vinny Vinci or whatever the guy's name is. Like, you could bring him up. He could be in that group. Right. It's different from when they tried to do the League of Nations with Cesaro, Sheamus, Rusev. Like, they tried to do that, and it didn't work because they just didn't let him. They didn't let him be. Right. Anyway, Breaker still. The kid JT McDonough or whoever he is. Do you honestly believe he can actually beat Breaker? No. Did we miss any? Wait, we bird walked and got away from.
We got 15 minutes for.
Oh my gosh! SummerSlam starts in 15 minutes.
So let's.
Oh my gosh!
Let's start talking about tonight's card.
You're talking too much. You're talking too much. All right, we're gonna think of quick predictions. I'm starting to sound like Booker T. I'm starting to ramble like Booker T.
Quacky, or whatever.
Yeah, Shucky Ducky.
Shucky Ducky. That's what it is. All right, let's start. Just bottom of the card. Let's start. Mysterious versus Judgment Day. No disqualification.
Who cares? I'm happy to see Rey on a pay-per-view. I love Rey Mysterio. Have always loved Rey. I think Rey is the greatest luchador. Obviously, this is going to be all about Edge.
You think without a doubt Edge shows up?
100%. 100%.
Because now they got. I forgot they got Rhea back. Oh, and how about the whole? That was. I mean, then the involvement with his daughter. I loved all the Buddy Murphy memes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, in a weird way, that was a dodge.
That's what went through everybody's head when they saw it.
You had to laugh. You had to laugh at that.
You knew she was going to be. Yeah.
And by the way, Murphy was never comfortable with that. I don't think Ray was ever really comfortable. I don't think Aaliyah was really comfortable with that. So I just thought that was brilliant. I mean, I just thought it was a brilliant nod. And I don't know creatively who came up with that. Right. But Vince would have never done that.
But when, like we said, we literally all thought it at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Everybody in the world, everybody who knows the story.
Yeah.
And for somebody to come up with something that we all simultaneously thought of,
it was hysterical. And
that's how you know.
And Rhea, during the week, Rhea had so it's good to see her back.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's 100% though. That's the problem.
I don't either.
I don't think because I don't think they would have reasserted her in this way if she's not 100%.
Right.
So now what? She's the leader of Judgment Day.
Well, she's the bulldog.
Yeah. All right. And by the way, if Aaliyah gets involved in this match, stop. Don't, kid. Just go the other way. Just stay that. But to me, anytime I get to watch Ray, I still love Ray. I always love Ray. And I think it's good for Dominic. I think I love Finn. Finn can go with anybody. I'm still.
So what's your prediction? Who wins the match?
I think yes, because Ray got the win for his 20th, which by the way, absolutely deserved. Loved the whole thing. Loved the tribute to Eddie. Loved the chair thing.
My prediction was very wrong.
Oh yeah. Well, and again, but here's what I love about it. They gave Ray a chance to celebrate. They gave them they gave the fans a chance to celebrate Ray. So that was the right call. Right.
There was no moment.
No, there was no moment.
You gotta be kidding me.
And then afterwards, everybody he takes a shot at tequila.
It's best of both worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it keeps the storyline going. Now,
but you got to truly celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so.
Okay.
By the way, dope shirts. The shirts were awesome.
The one
the one he's wearing with the gold and the Lucha Legend.
Right.
Like those shirts are dope. I got to get me one of those. I'll wait till they go on discount. So they're like $40 right now.
All right, Miz and Logan Paul.
Yeah, who cares? Here's the funniest thing, and I made notes about this. The fact that the crowd was basically, and they tried to mute it as much as they could, but the crowd was yelling at Miz, one more time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if Miz had just kept going, the crowd would have went nuts.
He only hit him one time with it?
One time. But that's why they started yelling, one more. And they, you could tell the WWE was trying to squash that. But
how do you think Maurice did this past week?
She's great. Here's the thing. She's the perfect.
Her trying to say.
Yeah, just say it in French. I mean, come on, Maurice. People, there are those of us who are super nerds that watch Miz and Mrs., which is total farce. It's just like, oh my god, this is why I love the Miz, right? Because the Miz actually sells you on the fact that this is his life, right? Or this as a wrestler. First and foremost, not that he's obviously a great guy, and 95% of the people actually really love him.
Right.
Wasn't that way when he first came in? I mean, he literally was like, he did everything wrong, but he admits he did everything wrong. Like, he knows. And I actually think that famous clip between him and Bryan Danielson was legit. I mean, and that's what made the Miz. And I think the only way you come off with that level of legitimacy is because it was real. And the fact that, Bryan said what he said, just like Punk says. I mean, Punk doesn't hold back. Bryan doesn't hold back. And I thought when Miz stood up for himself, he endeared himself to the WWE universe. And I love him. I absolutely, and he was absolutely 100% right. There's nobody that he's not put over. When they've asked him to put people over, he has done it, and he's done it without argument, right? Which is not the truth for Ray, not the truth for John Cena. Okay, much as we love Cena and Ray and all those guys, there were people they didn't want to put over. Brock has said no, I'm doing that. And because Brock can. There were people that didn't want to put Brock over. Very few, but there were a couple. But Brock was just such a star. Listen, Logan Paul's going to get the win because the WWE they probably promised it to him in his contract. But that's why you put him with Miz.
That's going to be interesting. I'm not interested to see it, but it's in general. So what's next for Logan Paul? Because he's got this contract.
Nothing. I mean, he'll
have something at WrestleMania.
Maybe, whatever. He'll show up. Here's the thing. And his brother Jake, and God bless those kids. Because I don't know how they got famous. I don't even know why they're famous. I don't know anything about them. But God bless them. If that kid can somehow manage at his age and the brother, get a WWE contract, fight Floyd Mayweather, the other Paul kids fighting people.
More power to him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, God bless. Shalom. But again, that's why you put him with Miz, because Miz will put him over.
All right, we gotta move on. Bianca and Becky.
I think.
How many times have we?
Yeah, but again, the problem is you don't have the talent in. You don't have you haven't built up the women's division.
So who you got in this one?
I actually think.
I still think it's. I want Becky, but I think you're gonna see Bianca.
Yeah,
I don't think they're ready to take it off.
No, I don't think so either.
After what happened in SummerSlam.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like Bianca's redemption.
Even though she's had redemption against Becky already.
It's
the SummerSlam redemption.
Yeah, I mean, again, and it pushes the storyline of Becky. I will tell you this, and I said this to you during the week. I wrote down, I love that Alexa called her shot.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely loved it.
You're right, she's back.
She's kind of back.
Right.
Until she starts taking orders from Lily, she's not fully back. And I'm telling you that should be the next step, is that something happens and that Alexa starts to take advice from Lily, because that brings back Dark Alexa. And Dark Alexa was the best version of Alexa.
Well, and we'll get that in a little bit, and coming close to it with some predictions later. I think where we're going. All right, so All right, so Liv and Ronda.
Yeah.
How was Ronda the other night? She's terrible.
Terrible.
I can't remember what. Oh, the fake. Saying something about somebody's mom.
Yeah, that was funny. I thought that was funny.
I don't know. It was
your mom failed you. I mean, come on.
I thought it was awkward, like to the point where because it was so.
It wasn't. It was
forced.
Okay,
and it was like.
But you're trying to build the evil Ronda.
Yeah, but it was like.
Well, I thought what was more forced was the match. Was okay. So you're going to sacrifice Sonya again. You're going to sacrifice Natalya again.
It's her delivery on it. Your mom failed you. Like,
yeah. Well, she's angry. Listen. Ronda has never been.
I know, and she never will.
And she never will. But you're
stuck with it.
You got to play to your strengths, Ronda, and your strength is being the badass.
Don't talk. Just don't talk.
Just
where
Brock never talked. No. You know what they really need? But you know what they need to do? They need to get her an advocate. They needed somebody to talk for.
They do.
Like, look, and the perfect person would be Sonya.
Because she's not doing much.
No, and listen, I don't know what the hell. But now Ronda comes out and she's beating up everybody. I'll tell you this. I don't know what happened with Lacey being not medically cleared, but I was excited to see Shotzi win.
Right.
Like, I don't know what you're going to do with Aaliyah. I don't even know what Aaliyah brings to the ring. I mean, God bless her. She's a pretty kid. But
she didn't do anything next.
No, she really didn't. She lost.
So who you got, Liv or Ronda?
I think ultimately it will be Liv so that they can build Ronda as the bad guy. Yeah, and she'll attack Liv from behind and on all that crud.
All right, we got 5 minutes. All right, we've talked about some of these for a while. So Uso Street Profits. What's your prediction?
Here's my hope. My hope is that somehow Sammy gets involved. My prediction is that the reason why they super kicked Jeff Jarrett on Friday night was to set up the fact that some shenanigans are going to happen and the profits are going to go on.
I agree. Street Profits.
Yeah. And again, I think they have earned it. My God. I mean, I know they've been on every show for the last 3 weeks, but my God, they're so good. They're so over with the crowd too.
They're up and they want.
Yeah, they want the smoke because they're getting the smoke.
Right.
And I think it'll be a great match.
McAfee and Corbin.
Again, it's a throwaway match.
It doesn't really matter.
Now, I think they're doing it the right way. I love that, Corbin had his ticket and then he kicks, all that build up to kick him in the gym.
I kind of think Corbin, and I mean, obviously because he's the actual wrestler, but in general, I think Corbin needs this. In the sense that, I mean, Corbin's always going to need Corbin, but I mean,
but that's just it. That's why he doesn't need it. I mean,
but for a new, after this is going to be looking for a storyline.
But he'll find it. See, the thing
I know he will, but
this is what has always impressed me about Corbin. Corbin knows just how to get heat. He's really good at getting heat.
He's one of those that's why he will always be a heel.
Yeah, and he plays it well.
Right.
So, like with him and Pat, again, it's an opportunity for Pat to live out his dream. Okay, and it's for the brand. Okay, so let's not kid ourselves. It's not like Pat's going, "Oh yeah, this would be bad for me." I mean, and it'll be different from Adam Cole. It'll be different from Theory. I think it's going to be almost like Pat is the underdog and somehow pulls out the victory because and I like the fact that they were both roommates and I thought it was really funny, is honest to God's truth, that he had a sign with McAfee's mugshot. Like, that's funny. That is real. I mean, that's why Corbin doesn't need it either, but he's the perfect person to do it with McAfee.
He is.
And I, as much as
good match.
I think so too. I mean, listen, the one thing is, if they ask Pat to do something, he'll do it.
Right.
And he's in. And so is Corbin. I mean, Corbin's like, yeah, well, listen, we were roommates.
Right. All right. The last 3 minutes.
Go ahead.
Bobby Lashley in Theory. Just give me
I'm sorry. What?
Who you got one?
It'll be almost like, it's got to be Bobby, just because.
On a bigger and better thing.
Yeah, and I really do think
whether he wins or loses, he's on the bigger storyline.
It doesn't. Nobody cares. Does anybody care?
But even if he loses, he still wins.
Yeah, I mean, nobody cares.
All right,
and that's probably going to be the very first match.
Roman and Brock.
Yeah. See, this I don't know. And I will tell you this because I think
I can't make up my mind on what's going to happen.
Ultimately I think it's Roman.
It points to Brock, but like as far as
go ahead.
I feel like it points to Brock, but I feel like I don't. And I feel like Roman is going away, but I don't know how they take the title off, but I feel like Roman still beats Brock again.
Yeah, I do too. Because I think Brock's just coming. It's weird.
There hasn't been enough storyline for it, really.
But there doesn't have to be.
I know. But
see, and this is the thing. Brock is essentially becoming Hulk Hogan, right? So in the 80s and early 90s, before the NWO, before Hulk switched over, whenever Vince needed a big star, he would call Hogan, and Hogan would come in, right? And that's who Brock is. He's not Goldberg, right? Because Goldberg comes in and people are like, yeah, we're not buying it. Right. I mean, the fact that he almost crippled the Undertaker. Stop it with Goldberg, okay? And I've never been a Goldberg guy,
right?
Okay, I have a little bit of empathy for him because I think Eric Bischoff screwed him, and they all screwed him because he talked about, and they talked about it in his biography thing, that he didn't get developed, they didn't right, and they would talk about how they couldn't, which was a load of BS because they did it with Brock. So tell me how you could do it with Brock and not do it with Goldberg. Okay, so anyway, blah, blah, blah. Brock's always going to be that guy because no matter what, when you hear that music, the crowd goes nuts. And he doesn't need to win. And I think here's the thing. If it's Roman against Drew in Wales, Drew wins, whatever, and then Theory cashes in there. Because that's huge,
right?
That's a storyline.
And there's that storyline continues.
Yeah, but I could also make a case for Brock winning and then losing to Drew over there, and then Theory cashing in. I think Theory cashes in over in Europe. I don't think he cashes in tonight.
I don't either because I think everybody's.
I think he teases it. Something stupid happens.
Maybe Dolph still. Maybe.
Or what would make more sense is Drew doing it.
Right, because he came after him this week.
He did come after him this week. Listen, the whole locker room came after Theory this week. So I think what's really, really interesting to me is if Drew stops him, then you absolutely know that he'll cash in over there.
And it does kind of feel like it's going that way. So
yeah. And I think it's more compelling. I think it's a more compelling line.
And he can go further.
Yeah, and I mean, does he cash in on Brock, and then you run a 3-month storyline where Brock tries to kill him for 3 months?
I think you're right. I think Roman wins it. I think he cashes in on Roman. That's when you see Roman. Now I've also heard, real quick, I've heard possibility of the Usos turning on the Tribal Chief.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. If it does, I would be. That would stun me more than anything. It really would because I love the bloodline to me. It goes back to the heart.
It's going to come to an end.
Yeah, I know, but you can come to an end all kinds of ways. I don't want to see cousins turning on cousins. Like one of the things, and this goes back to the days of the Hart Foundation, right? So Owen was always the angry little brother, but the Hart Foundation was at its best when Brett said, "No, we're family," and Davey Boy came back, and Owen came back, and Brett came back. And they were never better. Right. And then, unfortunately, they lost Owen. I don't want to see them turn. I want to see them keep the tradition of the bloodline because, to me, they're all stronger when they're together.
Right.
Plus, there's no. I mean, and the other thing is, eventually, Sikoa is going to come up. Right. So you keep the Samoans together. You just do. All right, Seth. Because, by the way, the pay-per-view has started.
All right.
We're literally watching the pay-per-view on the phone, right. And we are going to move. So the 0 people that are watching,
don't move.
Don't move. Don't get lost. And everybody's listening on the spaces. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't care because I'm having a great time, and I will do this. I don't care if I don't. Right. I don't care anyway.
Anyway, who you think? Okay. Who you think you see Seth face, and who do you want? Realistically,
I want the Fiend to come out.
Right. Who do you think does?
I think it is. The rumor is that it's Dolph.
Why would you hear that rumor if it wasn't?
Because
that's what I'm saying.
It's bad. But if it is Dolph, like Who cares about that match?
Right.
It's like, why don't you put Ezekiel come out?
At this point, because of this, it's going to be a disappointment no matter what it is. Because everybody either wants the Fiend. My next best choice would be Gargano.
Okay.
I would love to see that.
Yeah,
why you do that, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you that
Triple H, I feel like, can make a reason.
Yeah, I will tell you that my ultimate dream, if it isn't the Fiend, would be MJF.
Well, yeah.
I mean, and I don't know if that's even possible. But sweet Lord, sweet. But is he? I mean, the thing of it is he's holding out on a contract.
He's not hurt, is he?
No, it literally is. It okay. So
it's
what?
Literally, it's a storyline.
The storyline is it's a contract dispute.
Right.
Like
is it a storyline or is it?
Well, but he hasn't been on. He hasn't been on camera in what 3, 4, 5 weeks
to show you, just like he kills his promos, he's killing this.
If he walked out, I would lose my stuff.
But even if it's a storyline, I mean, he is killing the storyline.
And by the way, you want to tell me, okay, but you want to tell me that Seth versus MJF, you talk about those guys on the mic with one another, and then when Cody comes back, the history between MJF and Cody,
I couldn't win a title. I couldn't win a title against you in AEW,
but now I could win one here, right? But and MJF, hey Cody. I'm here. I am.
Right.
Like I just my God, could you see the Architect and MJF and Mike? I mean, it would be as good as he was with Punk. And by the way, I couldn't believe how good that was. I literally could not believe it because it was so good. I mean, MJF, one stinking tear.
Just think one day we can see MJF in the Miz.
No, you won't. Although I'll tell you, they would do it because of the whole storyline.
Right.
And Miz would put him over.
Storyline wise, they could make it great.
Listen, that line from Punk.
I don't know if it's most exciting now.
It doesn't matter because it would be a one off. But I will tell you that we got the women's match first. Yeah. Here comes big time. Now I really think if Theory went first, there would be a chance for a cash in. But I think the fact that the women are going first, and by the way, this is about to be a great match. So we're going to move. We're going to kind of take a break. So
give us a few minutes.
You just give us a few minutes for the zero people that are watching and listening.
That's right.
But there's always
stay tuned for these sponsors.
Yes, for this temporary silence is sponsored by silence. So anyway, we're gonna move and we're gonna keep this going. We're still recording. We're still going. We're still doing it live because you know what? This is just great. We don't care. Okay, it's kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles. They don't like us. We don't care.
The best part about sponsorship from silence
is that they don't it doesn't cost. Copyright. Yes, and by the way, for our live YouTube fans, I do wear glasses, so I know this shocks the system to so many people. Shocks the system. So, well, we went into elevation of darkness. Yeah, so over there. So yes, as part of our sponsorship, we would like to thank Lowe's Foods for providing me the opportunity to buy cookies. And so all of you following on the spaces. Yes, we are literally right now putting the pay-per-view on the TV, so you get to watch us. It's like those Minecraft videos where the people are watching the kids play.
It's a reaction.
Yeah.
Those are the best ones.
So apparently, I mean, my kids can't get enough of them. So
I watch reaction videos all the time. I love to see how other people react to seeing stuff I was watching. If they get the joy out of it, then I.
Yeah. By the way, we didn't even talk about the UFC tonight. And since we're in this sort of break while we get the Peacock up and get the WWE Network, I know you're not a huge UFC guy.
I like it, but just don't.
Yeah.
Don't get around and watching it.
See, I'm a big UFC guy. I can't really be the sensei without being one. But I will tell you this. So the big match on this one is Juliana Pena who upset Amanda Nunes in like an epic upset. And it's the big rematch tonight between those two. Right. Pena is plus 280 on the betting line, which means they think Amanda Nunes is going to kill her. Now, the one thing I do know about betting lines and the UFC is that you can never trust them. So, because it's just, the UFC is such a wild thing. But my goodness gracious, great balls of fire. They think Nunes is going to kill her. So, and I know very little about Juliana Pena, but I know she pulled an upset on probably pound for pound the greatest woman fighter in the UFC. I actually think Amanda Nunes is better than Ronda ever was because she's a more complete fighter. Right. And she's just, you talk about what they talk about now, the BA with the great A. Right.
So I got a question.
Go ahead.
So Ronda was like, did she only have like 6 or 7 matches in the UFC?
No, she had.
I saw a record, and I swear it was like 6 or 7.
Yeah, I mean, it may have been, but
is that a lot for women back
for the women? It was something in the sense that Ronda just came in because she was a gold medalist. She changed the game, and there was just nothing that she couldn't do. And by the way, she was so good. Like
women's UFC, pretty new when she started.
Yeah, I mean the women's division wasn't much, right. So I don't think they. Ronda just came in and was just like BA. And like she had a victory where literally they lock up. Ronda gets a hold of her, shoulder throws her, puts her in a headlock with her right arm, and pounded the living snot out of this girl with her fist. And the match was over in a minute. I mean, it was almost Mike Tyson-like. Right. And you just think to yourself, holy mother of pearl, she whooped that girl. She whooped her.
Genuinely.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, it wasn't even close. I mean, and this girl, and I can't even remember who it is, but she's, you're trained in 6 months. She's a world title fight. And Ronda beat you in a minute. And I mean, didn't beat you, whooped you. Because that shoulder throw was so clean, she went right in a headlock and she said, boom, boom, boom. Those of you listening on the space, I'm simulating a headlock in my left fist. And if you find us on the YouTube, you see my excellent technique. Yeah. All right. Again, we're gonna take a quick break. So if you're following us on the YouTube, here we go. Okay. Just before I get you your beverage, the EST was put on her best. She looked like a kung fu movie. Oh, and then Becky puts it on her. Becky puts it on her. This is going to be a great match. So, so you're seeing my couch now. And now I think one of the things that we're going to talk about is whether or not we want sound.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. All right, this is all I got. Is that enough for you?
Yeah.
All right. So I know our YouTube, the zeros of people that are watching.
Hopefully I lost anybody.
I hope not either.
But
hopefully on his faces.
Right, we don't know that, so that's
right.
We had some listeners last time.
Yes, we did.
Last time they said like 6 in the last one.
And listen, we're all in. We're here to provide the best for our listening audience. And by the way, this is already a far more compelling match than Logan Paul and than this.
This is far more compelling pay-per-view than Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Although the theory thing was surprising.
Yeah, well, again, it starts to grow on me. Okay. To be honest, it's ridiculous.
You heard about all the stuff about, is it is it Kevin Dunn or is it Kevin Dunn about the constantly saying Becky should be main eventer because she's not pretty enough?
Well, that goes back to.
I don't know what his taste in women are,
But here's the thing. This is ultimately, it's that old school,
right?
Misogynistic. So.
Hey, you know this? We're watching TV 14 tonight.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
and you know what? I wonder if it. And this is guys.
More than PG-13.
Yeah, but here's what I'm going to tell you. I think it's because you're going to see a lot more color. There's going to be a lot more bleeding.
Well,
because look at what AEW does.
You bet you look at how many disqualification matches there are tonight too.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of it is the TV 14 because of there's going to be blood.
Right. We want it.
Yeah, we do.
We want blood.
But again, you've got to qualify that for what you would call it. I don't know what I'm saying right now. For the censors.
Right. So not based on wrestling skill technique.
No.
Who is
this
your?
Is all about,
no. I'm asking something different. Who's your favorite in WWE? Your favorite women's wrestler right now?
Wow, it's Natalia.
But not based anything on their in-ring ability. Just in general, like
if you wanted my overall,
which one are you enjoying watching the most right now?
It's you know what it is? It's Asuka.
Really?
But we're not seeing Asuka. So like my favorite, like I loved as much as it drove me nuts, I loved Bayley and Sasha together. Right. Loved them, adored them. But I also loved the Iconics. Like I loved them. Yeah. So, like, if you said, who do I want to see wrestling every week? Ultimately, it's Asuka. Because I love Asuka. I love how Asuka goes nuts trying to speak English and even funny when she goes off in Japanese. I think Bianca is really, really good. Yeah. I think Becky is really, really good. I love watching Charlotte.
I think it's pretty impressive. I mean, even when even though she was out for however many months, the run she was on before that, and she's still.
Oh my gosh!
Now, and she's been able to. I mean, she has had no drop.
Yeah. And even coming back,
and she's learning. She's able to adapt and change her character, to a degree.
Well, it just goes to show how good. She is.
When things started clicking for her, they started clicking, and they haven't stopped clicking.
Well, again, she made the choice. When she became the last kicker, I mean, even beyond the last kicker, when she turned on Charlotte, that was it.
Right.
Because that solidified her as a legitimate star.
It started with the whole the Survivor Series, SmackDown NXT Raw, when she had the bloody nose.
Oh, when Nia punched her in the face.
And then she came back and she attacked. Yeah, it was Charlotte. She attacked, right?
Well, yeah, because that was the championship match.
Right.
And then because they were best friends, and Becky couldn't get over the hump, and then all of a sudden
she beat down Charlotte.
And then, but apparently things have. But that's also when it actually changed in their personal relationship, according to everything. So
that's what made it so good.
Holy man, look at all those people. Holy mackerel.
Is that more people than that were at the Commanders?
Yeah, I think it's about 15 more.
15 more.
This looks like the Eagles. By the way, these two can go. See, that's beautiful. Huh? Oh, mercy. Oh! So, but we are going right now, and this is unbelievable. So for those of you who are still following us, we appreciate you following the Sports Dojo on the spaces. We can't quite tell who's here, but you want to tweet at us or what have you. But we are doing a live YouTube feed, so you can find me on the YouTube. And we're just going. I mean, we've now been going for almost 2 hours. So, I don't know. Since nobody's listening, should we cut it or you want to keep going?
Okay, so we're really enjoying it.
Really
Pretty
enjoy it.
excited
All right.
about tonight.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have been going for almost 2 hours on the spaces. I absolutely love this platform. But in the future, we will be sending out information about not necessarily changes in the podcast, but changes in how we're performing. We're going to stay with YouTube, but we're going to be adding some things. So we want to thank everybody who is watching, will watch, all this good stuff. But again, Bianca said, She said, hold on, Sports Dojo. Hold on, Sports Dojo. Not just yet. You're going to be the EST of the podcasts. But Becky says, no, it's time. It's time. Oh, my goodness. What a move. And the kick out. Here's what I love. And before we, obviously we're going to probably talk for another 35 minutes.
Because when Fred says 5 more minutes.
Yeah, it's really 35 minutes. Becky and Bianca can go. And I don't know why I don't know what it was about Bianca in NXT, but did you see this Bianca in NXT?
If you had to compare Becky to, and maybe you can't do it, to a male wrestler of the past, who would you
That's an excellent question because of her evolution and how she got better.
She's Shawn Michaels.
No.
I mean, she can go even with her.
It's weird. She's almost Adam Cole.
She can make it good with anybody.
Yeah, she can. And the big time backs and all this. It's hard because
she's not the most athletic.
No.
She's not the biggest. Not
right,
the smallest,
but she's great on the mic.
But she's
crafty.
Top tier. She's number one tier of the mic.
We had the tier. Is she tier 1 women's wrestler? Yeah. She is, I think she's kind of in the mold of how Lita was. Because Lita got better and better. It's weird. Becky's almost, she's like Jeff Hardy without the bad decisions. Or, who she's really like? Christian Cage. Like, I would say, because when he was Christian, right? When he was just Christian, part of the Brood, he was good, right? And then when they were the ENC connection, they were absolutely phenomenal. When they would do the yet unforeseen 5-second poses, right? And then they split up, right? And then Christian became Captain Charisma. And that would, to me, is the best comparison for Becky, is that Christian. Because big time Bex and Captain Charisma and all that. And of course, then he went away and really established himself in TNA.
Right.
But that's who I would say Becky is. She's Christian Cage. And even now, Christian Cage is still killing it. Right. I mean, we didn't even talk about this with an AEW about Jungle Boy coming back. And
fantastic.
And again,
Christian gave it right back to him.
He did. But you talk about like this, that is, again, it's professional wrestling at its very essence. The fact that Jungle Boy, his response is attacking Christian's divorce. Okay. So you could realize, you could legitimately step back and go, wait a minute, maybe there's real heat between these two guys. And maybe there's not. But the fact that, I think what's going to be interesting is who does Christian bring in? Who does Christian bring in to neutralize Luchasaurus? And we talked about this last week, but it is amazing to me what's what they're doing for a storyline. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to end this because
YouTube's kicking us off. We got too many viewers.
yes, it's unbelievable. That oh my gosh, how great is this? No, Becky's not going to win. And anyway, all right. Well, thank you, anybody who is listening, who will listen. If you are a listener and you want to give us some feedback, we would love that. Again, please keep any feedback positive because we know we don't know what we're doing. Exactly. But we thank you for the time. We thank you for your patience with us developing, but we hope you enjoyed the conversation. So for the Stallion, the Sensei, the Protege, I love it. Anyway, we love y'all and we will talk to you soon. Thank you. Channeling your frustration at the moment, but it could come down to who has more left in their